Good afternoon. You're listening to My Conscious Dad right here on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS. I'm your host, Jazmine Urbina, here in the studio with my dad and co-host, Alex Urbina. And today we're going to be talking about, I guess this is a class. It's called Communication 101 with the emphasis in listening. So I'm sure you have a couple topics that you want to bring up first.
Yeah, but before I do that, everything should be a class. Even sitting at the bus stop waiting for a bus to come, you should be in class, in session, all the time, learning, discovering, growing, being more mindful, more aware, noticing life as it unfolds to become more effective at it. So, yeah, it is a class, and school's in. So let's ring the bell.
Well, I was laughing because I asked, "What's the topic?" And Andrew says, "Communication 101 - listening." I'm like, how am I supposed to say that?
That's because you guys have this weird little thing that you guys do where you make fun of us old folks, especially me, because the way that I word things sometimes. But it's all good. Yeah, today I want to talk a little bit about being a more effective listener, and I really want to open up the possibility for us to all learn and grow how to become, more effective in our ability to communicate, especially with the people that we say we love the most. Some of the biggest breakthroughs have come in my life and in my journey of consciousness is realizing that I'm not a great communicator, and being willing to own that and see that and acknowledge that is the opening for me to now start learning how to become a more effective communicator. And so what I did was I just sat down and looked at all the different components when it comes to being a great listener. And for me as a life coach, it's my job to be a great listener. My job is to really create this safe environment for people to trust in and to share in a way that is compelling and share in a way that they can find their own truth and discover their own answers. So there's a little bit of science, I think, behind being a great listener. And I want to kind of touch on some of those things and open up a possibility really to look at it and have a discussion and really kind of saturate that for people. How's that sound?
It sounds good. I know for me, I like to think that I'm a good listener, and in the communicating part, what I'm worst at is not the listening, but the expressing and doing the communicating. So I think I'm excited because hopefully I have a lot to add to the listening part, because I do think I'm a good listener.
Awesome. So let's get on with it. So the first thing I wrote down is you got to be present. If you don't know how to be present, you have to learn how to become present and live in the moment and be in the moment. You have to learn how to operate in the moment and just be there 100%, which means that you can't be up in your head thinking about things. A lot of times, and I know you've experienced it because I've experienced it, and I still catch myself sometimes when people are talking, I'm listening from trying to figure out a solution or an answer, or maybe sometimes we're thinking about, I wonder what I'm going to do later on, where we're going to go to lunch, or where my husband's going to take me, and we're not being present in the moment. So in order to really be an effective listener, you have to block out your mind from having any thoughts. You just got to be here in the moment, present 150%, and be here as the committed listener. So for one, it's be present, be in the moment. What helps sometimes, most of the time for me, is making eye contact. When I give myself permission to make eye contact, there's something that happens to the person that's talking or sharing, draws me into whatever it is that they're saying. The eyes are very powerful. When we make the eye contact, they draw us in. So if you're really ever worrying about or wondering and you have your mind wandering, look at someone in their eyes when they're talking and just focus in on their eyes, and they lock you in. And when you both lock in, it pulls you into the moment. So making eye contact is important. The other thing is, I teach a lot of times my clients when it comes to listening, especially fathers with their kids or mothers with their husbands or whatever it is I tell them, hang on to every word. As the person is sharing, just like imagine the words coming out and you're grabbing and you're hanging on, and then you're jumping on to the next word. Like listen and kind of grab every word and hang on to it for a little bit, and then just keep grabbing each word. And I don't know how to describe it other than the picture I just painted, but I call it hanging on to every word. When you do that, it draws you into what they're saying and it brings you right in. And then the last thing is to use every ounce of your intention to stay focused and practice blocking out all distractions. The first thing I would say is turn your phone off. or leave it in your car, or turn it off, or put it away somewhere so it doesn't become a distraction. Even if the screen is up and it goes off, it's still a distraction. Through the art of practicing how to be in the moment and present and locking in on people, I've had these very powerful conversations. Most of them happen at a Denny's at 2 a.m. with all the party crowd coming in, or it's at lunchtime and we're sitting somewhere. And you've probably even seen me somewhere here in the San Fernando Valley or the Santa Clarita Valley, either at a Starbucks meeting with people, and I can know a few people here, and I'm just locked in on you. We can get in some deep, meaningful conversations at a Starbucks and just be right in the moment, like no one's here. No one's, like, it's just you and me. And that takes a practice to really zone in on people.
Yeah, two of my biggest pet peeves have to do with listening. And one of them is oftentimes somebody will ask me a question or ask me for help, or and when I start talking, they zone out and stop listening. And that, oh my gosh, that bothers me so much.
It's your pet peeve.
Yeah, it's like you asked for this information, and then you want to go start having a conversation or go on Facebook, and while I'm trying to give it to you. And then my other pet peeve is, especially when I'm in an argument, is when the other person is not listening to me, and I know they're not listening to me because as soon as I finish talking, they already are spitting out their defense, or they're already there with all of the answers to the things that you said. So, that bothers me too, because I know that at one point they checked out and started finding things to defend themselves.
Yeah,
with.
and in your mind, you're thinking to yourself, how could you even hear a word that I'm saying if you already thought of 10 scenarios, and it's like as soon as my last word finished, you already had a whole series of things to say, rather than my last word ends and then there's that awkward silence, pause, and then you get to kind of let the words catch up, and then you make sense of it, and then you come back with something. So, parents, your kids know when you're checking out, and, they're smart. You guys are intelligent. You can tell when we ask a question like, hey, honey, how was your day? And then we go off doing like this, and you're like, what? Really? Can't you see that I see you doing that? Like, I'm watching you ask me a question, and then right before I even speak, you just checked out on me. You're tuning out. And so you really got to be hyper aware, because once you do that, your kids have put you in a box that you're not authentic, that you really don't care. You're just filling this empty silence with something to say. The next thing is listen from being compassionate. Now, if you're an avid listener of the show, you've heard us talk everything about be, do, have, right? The model that I coach from is be, do, have, and focusing more on who you're being. And if you can master all the different magnificent ways of being in your relationship, you're going to create something extraordinary. A lot of people don't focus on being. They focus on what am I going to say, what am I going to do, but not who am I being. And so you got to learn how to practice the art of listening from being compassionate. Being compassionate means you go to a certain place in your heart where you have sympathy for the suffering of other people. So as people are sharing with you and they're, frustrated, and you got to go to that compassionate part that resides somewhere in here, that you go and you hang out in that sofa in the living room called compassion, and listen from that place. So as you listen from being compassionate, I want you to listen from not trying to fix their problem or defend yourself or taking anything personal. I think those are the big things that are takeaways. And I remember you just said that a few minutes ago, is one of your pet peeves is you're talking and somebody's already defending themselves, especially if you're talking about them. So listen from a compassionate place, but you got to really make this intention to not come back with or listen from, I want to fix their problem, I want to solve their issue that they're having, or I'm getting ready to defend myself because what you just said was not what I meant, or it wasn't what I was trying to do. And so you're already listening from trying to defend yourself. It means you checked out already. If you're defending yourself in your head, it means you checked out and you're not even listening anymore. And then the last thing is, don't take things personal as you're listening. Be that open space, non-judgmental space for them to just kind of vent. When they're sharing, see it as venting. They're getting it off their chest, and you're being that gift for them, which is saying, I'm not going to take anything that you say personal. I'm not going to let it hit me, tag me, get me riled up, get me angry or frustrated.
Yeah, when as a woman, when I'm venting, I don't want, my dad or my mom or my boyfriend or whoever, I don't want you to fix the problem right then and there, even though that's probably my ultimate goal and that's what it sounds like. As a woman and a venter, I'm not trying to get that right now. So I do want to I want to get it all out so that you can hear me, and that's it.
That's right.
So just be quiet.
That's right. Most women, when they speak, they're speaking because they need to be heard. They need to be validated that what they're saying is at least important to you. And this is the truth with parenting. Your kids, when they come to you, they want to share from a place of, Mom, I just want you to listen to what I'm saying. I didn't ask you for advice. I didn't ask you to try to fix it. I just want you to nod your head and just go and just come from this compassionate place that you understand that where I'm coming from is valid. That's all they want. And that's important for us to know that as listeners.
Yeah, I know I talk about this all the time, but I think it's really important for me, and I'm sure for your kids is when we come and we share something, all we're looking for is to be validated our feelings. All we want is, Mom, I'm upset about this. We don't want to hear, well, don't cry about that. We want to hear, oh, okay, I understand. Mm-hmm. I felt that way too. This is what we can do, or what do you think you should do? There's ways to open up possibilities that don't hurt our feelings when we're coming to you as kids looking for help.
Yeah, you just touched on the feel, felt, found. And if you've never heard this before, you should write this down. Feel, felt, found. I know how you feel. I too have felt that way. And what I found out by going through that was, and then you get to share your story. Feel, felt, found for parents is an extraordinary tool that if you learn that and master that, you will have less arguments. You'll have less rolling of the eyes and the kids going, Mom, you never listened to me. Or feel, felt, found is an extraordinary tool and a great way to listen from. Listen from, I feel you. I've been there before, and this is what I found out. And then you're sharing kind of like the advice that you would give them from something that you've done rather than them hearing like you're telling them what they should do, right?
Yeah, and that's something that we talk about all the time that I guess I unconsciously brought up because I didn't realize I was doing
Well, it's perfect because it sounds like you're listening and you're learning and you're discovering all the things that you need to be a great listener. The next thing is listen from being understanding. So there's the compassionate place, and then there's a state of understanding or a place of relating. Right? Here's the feel, felt, found. You can only go to feel, felt, found from a place of understanding what they're sharing and what they're going through and see if you can relate. Like, oh, that happened to me. Or try to find some version, something similar of that kind of experience where you can go, oh, I've done that, or I've been there. So try to find in their sharing something that you can relate to, because that's the common ground that you need to, or the foundation you need to stand on and operate from so that they don't hear it as you're trying to fix them or give them the answers. If you can start off from sharing or listening from, I'm relating, you're on neutral ground. It's a neutral kind of conversation.
Yeah, this is probably going to sound confusing, so help me deliver the message if you can jump in. But there's a difference between understanding somebody and being understanding. And I don't really know how to describe those two differences.
I can describe that perfect.
Go ahead.
And the reason why is because your mom, my wife, does it to me a lot. She's getting better at it. But in the beginning, she would ask me questions and I would share, and then she'd ask me a few more questions and then I would share. And at a point after 6, 7, 8, 12 questions, she's like, help me, I'm trying to understand. And to me, I'm like, it doesn't sound like you're trying to understand me. It sounds like you're trying to figure me out. And there's a distinction between asking questions because you want to try to figure someone out, or like I want you to, I'm going to keep asking you questions because I'm trying to put you in a box to go, okay, that's where you are. That's figuring you out. Understanding is going, I too have been there. I know what that feels like. It's just, understanding is a place to relate to. I relate. I've been hurt. I've been rejected. I know what that feels like to be sad. It's kind of finding some common ground that we share together rather than trying to listen from, I'm trying to figure you out so I can put you in a box. And that's my experience of the two distinctions between understanding and trying to figure somebody out. Is that what you were trying to say?
Yeah, I mean, especially for parents, they've all been through the things that their kids are going through. So that's why it's funny to me when my friends' parents, or even when I was growing up, my parents not understanding where I was coming from, because I'm like, I know you've done this before.
Yeah,
I know it's a long time
stop
ago.
pretending like you're perfect, right?
Yeah,
I think as parents, we live in this illusion, like, when you're going through something, it's like, I want to be the expert and tell you. But in order to be the expert, I first have to reveal how I'm the expert, why I'm the expert. I'm only the expert, honey, because I've been there too. I've made those mistakes. You say it like that and you hook their heart. Now they're like, like little dogs, their ears open up and now you got their attention. But if you're trying to act like you're the expert but have never been there and don't want to own up to that or be honest about that, they're not listening to you.
There's a huge difference, and you'll notice a shift in your kids when you go from do this because I told you so and do this because this is what happened to me.
Nice.
There's such a big jump.
You now all of a sudden listen because they've revealed something to you. They've brought their wall down and let you in, and they shared that experience. Now they know, oh, wow, you can relate to me. Prior to that, there's no relating. There's just the expert telling them what they think they should do. But the magical moment and that key is I relate. I've been there before. And so that's magical. The next thing is listen from a place of being grateful. Be honored to be there for that person as a listener. You got to learn how to see it as, wow, I get to be here for you in this moment. You're frustrated, you're annoyed, you got some anxiety, or you got something stressful that you want to get off your chest. I get to be there for you. It's a get to, not a have to. Sometimes we're listening from a have to, right? And what does it look like when we're have to? We're rolling our eyes. All of a sudden our phone vibrates and we look at it, or someone walks by and we get distracted, we look away. But what it would look like to be so grateful and find the honor in being that partner for the person that's sharing, the person that you care about. See if you can come from that place of gratitude and take it as an honor to be there and be that great listener for them.
Yeah, what I really love about being the listener is I know that they're so passionate, like maybe they're really upset about something that happened at work and they're so passionate. I can't believe this happened. I can't believe that happened. And I'm sitting there like, well, I have 5 easy solutions, like waiting for them to finish. So as soon as they're done, I'm like, yeah, how can we figure this out? And even though I have those 5 solutions, I want them to kind of like get to it. So it's fun. It's not, if you choose to come from that place, it's a lot more fun than having to sit there and listen
Being
to
a
them.
listener is such an amazing opportunity to be in contribution to other people. I think that unconsciously we don't realize the role we play and how valuable that role can be. And I think that a lot of times we underestimate how powerful it is, especially as parents. We're not listening from a place of, I'm honored to be this space for you. I'm honored to be the mirror for you as you're frustrated and you're trying to get all this out and trying to make sense of it. I just miss seeing that opportunity from parents that just don't get how valuable that come from could be.
Yeah, another thing I want to bring up before we have to go on break is, there's parents who will say, oh, why doesn't my kid talk to me and why can't we communicate? And it's because they have years and years of you not listening to them and maybe you feel like you're listening to them. You could say, I ask them every day how my day's going. But if you ask them how their day's going and then as soon as they start answering, you jump on Facebook or you start cooking or you start doing whatever life tasks that come up, that's us not getting what we want, which is you fully listening.
And it's easy for you as kids can create evidence that you go, see, there you go again. You're not really interested in what I got to say.
Yeah. So if you from, 4th grade to 10th grade, you do that, constantly all those years, by the time they get older, 16, 17, 18, 19, that's when they stop talking to you because they know that you're not listening.
That's right. So don't check out, stay checked in. Practice learning how to stay in it, in the moment, and not allow yourself to be distracted by anything else. And if you have, ADD or you're just kind of like, full tilt all the time, it's going to take some committed effort to really stay in conversations more. But I promise, the more you become mindful of it and the more you're aware of it, you actually start to dial it in until it becomes who you are. It's just, 5-10 years later, you're wondering why everyone wants to take you out to lunch because you're such a great listener, and all of a sudden relationships start opening up for you. It's amazing. It's an amazing tool to have once you dial it in.
Hey, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Stay tuned for more of My Conscious Dad right here on your hometown station, AM 1220 KHTS.